In the world of performance mental coaching, one name stands out above the rest: Guillaume Rivas. A sought-after authority across Europe, Guillaume has spent the last 15 years refining his craft, working with Olympic athletes and top leadership teams alike. From Alex Portal to Virgil Clauda, his impact has been felt far and wide. But Guillaume's reach extends beyond the realm of sports. He's partnered with industry giants such as IKEA, L'Oréal, Thales, and Metro, guiding them towards greater success. He is more than just a coach, he's a pioneer. As one of the founding members of Human Sparks, he's revolutionized the field with his unique approach to body movement profiling. Through neuromotor profiling, Guillaume helps individuals unlock their natural talent, empowering them to thrive in both their personal and professional lives. Join us as we delve into Guillaume's extraordinary journey and discover the transformative power of his work. Where did you see that? I have to ask, in my body. Yeah, because if my wife was here, she'd be like, yes, tick, 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 tick. Thank you. That's my husband.
And it's just incredible. Sorry, it's my passion, so I can speak hours about that. We decided to use the athlete technology for managers. A manager is an athlete.
At some point, it wasn't going very well, even in our practice, and I could feel the tension inside of me.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are thinking about, but I have your foundation of your decision. To be good, you have to be the best, you have to be focused. It's not true. All managers or COMEX, they want to put people like this on queer organization to put some pressure, and it will not work. Don't ask Messi to play as Ronaldo.
I've had really tough discussions with some people in executive positions because they don't. It makes them really uncomfortable.
It's tricky, but it's very simple. Who are you?
Hi, my name is Eric Vautrin, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to my YouTube channel and podcasts. Here, my mission is simple: to have thought-provoking conversations with remarkable guests. Together, we'll challenge assumptions, broaden our perspective, and ultimately, my hope is that we will all be called to think with more openness, compassion, and clarity. Your support means the world to me, so please do click on that subscribe button. That way, you'll help me bring even more fantastic guests to my show. I hope you enjoy my next guest. All right. So, Guillaume Rivas, welcome to Think with Eric Vautrin. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Welcome as well.
Thank you very much. I think I have to start with the story of how I found out about you and how it led me to first get in touch with you to have a conversation. In one of the contracts I was doing for work with one of my colleagues actually in France, who's also a friend of mine, we were going out for dinner and he was actually telling me the story of when him and his friends got together and they had a hypnotist over. It was a great story about how different people at the dinner were hypnotized. And he was like, I was super open. I was telling the guy, I believe in this, but he wasn't able to hypnotize me. And somehow we went from there to him saying, but Eric, I experienced something once in a leadership training, which I couldn't believe. And I have to tell you about it. So I met this guy. We were, I think, 8 or 9 from my department with my boss. And basically, one by one, he went to us and he said, okay, move your body like this, push on that, do this, okay? And then he said, your type, this, that. And he's like, oh, okay, but I have no idea what that means. But okay, let me sit with that for a little bit. And after the trainer had gone through everyone who was part of the leadership training, then he explained what those personality types meant, how they basically each one addresses problem thinking, cooperation, and whatnot. And my colleague was just stunned how accurate it represented him and the way that he thinks and the way that he collaborates with his colleagues and even the challenges that he was having with his boss just by moving his body and being looked at. And that's where he said, Eric, you need to talk to Guillaume. And that's why we're here today. But before we get into what it is that you do, definitely my audience would like to know a little bit about yourself and what brought you to where you are today.
Okay, so just first, to begin, sorry for my dreadful English speaking. I'm not totally fluent, so I will do my best to be as clear as possible. I'm a mental trainer, but my specialty is to read the body. So it started maybe nearly 20 years ago. I was working in a gym. I used to have 2 gyms to prevent back pain and many other stuff. And I discovered mental training. So I started to be mental trainer for athletes. Then I become a teacher, mental training academy at the university. And I discovered a man who is called Ralph Hippolyte, who created an incredible method was called at the beginning action types. It's to understand how you think, to observe how your body move, your body is moving. Sorry. So I start working with him, and I become his Padawan. So I just incredible because it was just observe you walking, and he can describe all your mental organization. So like it was magic for the beginning because I came from mental training, so it's very strict. It's about systemic. It's about processing. It comes from NLP,
Mhm. NLP, exactly.
NLP. So I have been teaching NLP, hypnosis, all that stuff, MBTI. So I came from science, very something very organized, and just walking, observing the body can describe who you are. So I decided to discover his method. So I went to Switzerland to be to that he teach me the method. And time by time, I don't say a specialist, but um, I was just focused on this methodology. So now I'm training trainers. I create my own methodology. I create a company with Ralph Hippolyte, and then we include some specialists about motricity, uh, and we rebuild the system to be focused on specific point to teach this method to therapists like physiotherapists and all that stuff. But at the beginning, it was just understanding the mental structure of the body. So I teach this technique to many athletes during my career. The main idea was to observe the body, to understand your natural preferences, to optimize your movement. So it was my first client, and this is the origin of the method. It to help athletes to discover your natural pattern. For example, if you use your right hand to write, it's normal for you to, at the tennis, to use your right hand. But we have the same with the hip, with the foot, with the eye, with the shoulder, with the spine. So there are many specificity about our own motricity. And the idea is to discover your your natural motor organization, to have like a resume of your best practice. So the idea is to help the athlete and the trainer to find the best way to perform with the less energy and to prevent pain. So many athletes used to change during their career of trainers, and sometimes it's the new technique is better for them, or become worse, and they don't have any reading technique to understand why. For example, at the golf, you can lose your movement because your trainer changed you your balance, and you don't know why, because you have a natural preferences, the front um, balance or back balance. But if you don't know your natural organization, you will just listen your trainers and will give you some information, and it can destroy your whole movement. So I become with that this method, and now we are here. So at the beginning, I was just teaching the method in Switzerland, then teaching the method in France at the university. Then I decided to create my own company to develop this technique to athletes. And 10 years ago, I started to work for a huge company. We decided to um, use the athlete technology for managers. That a manager is an athlete, so there is a few difference, but there is a long preparation. There is high level event, but they don't have any training methodology about how to focus your attention, how to train your attention, how to recover. So they asked me to prepare uh, some some how can I say it? Sorry for my English.
Like a program that would
Exactly,
allow them. Mhm.
exactly. Like to prepare the top management as an athlete. It was main idea. So I work for a huge company, like French company, international company, IKEA, L'Oréal, Lactalis, Metro, blah blah blah. And 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I met my my partnership was called Cyril Legrand, with um, a consulting company, international consulting company. And we create our own model and we develop it now in many countries and to help the managers to be more focused on who they are, and they can collaborate to understand other better, to optimize the communication, the leadership, the organization of their own team, and to perform better. And now we have some, so we have our body technique, reading body technique, and we develop now a startup to have some technology to read the body, like with a camera and all that stuff.
That's really interesting. And I mean, later on, maybe I'll share how the first call that we had, I think within the first 2 minutes, just over video, you're like, oh, Eric, I think you're this, you're that, you're probably this. And just by watching me while I was talking to you, my I had this question, and maybe it's a silly question. It's sort of a chicken of or an egg, which one came first question, the chicken or the egg. But what comes first? Is it like the personality, the brain aspect, which then manifests itself in the way that our body moves? Is it that the movement of the body influences then the thought structure and the development of our brain, or are basically they're so linked with one another that you can't really say which one comes first?
Okay, it's tricky, but it's very simple. Who are you? Your
Who
mind
am
or
I?
your body?
That's a very philosophical question. I'm a Buddhist, so that's a very philosophical question.
In,
I
in,
mean,
in the natural way. Think about the natural way.
am I my body or my mind? Well, I
When I
experience
say one not who you are, like spiritually, but in a biologic way.
my body.
You can change your mind, but if you cut your arm, you are not totally your body. So the main problem, and this is what I'm very fond of Buddhism as well. I'm a practitioner of meditation in years. The mind creates your own world, and there is
Hmm.
the ego, which is I am.
Hmm.
But what is the brain? What is the mind? It's a movie. And when I say where it come from, nobody knows where it come from, but nobody asks where the mind come from. It's natural. We are what we think because we are thinking. It's totally very Occidental way. I am because I'm thinking. But
Hmm.
okay. But when you don't think during the meditation, when you are sleeping, you still are. You are
Hmm.
one, but you are not thinking. And then you wake up. But what is waking up? You? No, your mind. Okay.
Hmm.
So as a young baby, when you arrive in the wonderful world, you are not able to speak, even to think conceptually, but you are.
Absolutely.
And what is your first step? It's moving. And
Mm.
then your movement are going to be more and more complex to structure your brain. And when your brain is complex enough, you can start thinking conceptually because the brain is made to move. The human being is the most complex organization. We have the ratio of the weight of the brain and the body with the highest. Even the biggest animal don't have this ratio because we have two specificity. The pedestrian
Uh,
bipedic, the name in
mhm.
English, walking on with 2 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you need a very complex balance organization, and we have that.
the
With
thumbs,
that, the
opposable
opposite,
thumbs.
yeah, so we can have
Hmm.
tools.
Yeah.
And then to organize this balance, we need to organize shoulder, hips, and head, which is
Hmm.
very complex. So we think because we are moving, because thinking is just virtualization of the movement. When you think, you use action verb, thinking, doing, because you need to move to think. For example, a child who is not moving enough will have difficulty to understand, to speak eventually. And when we become older, when you have a lack of movement, your brain is going to decrease. So moving and thinking are the same. That's
That's so
why
interesting.
in meditation,
Hmm.
you stop moving to prevent your mind. There is a link between the two. So in our observation, and you can there is many neuroscientists that explain that mind came from the brain, and the brain is organized because we are moving. So the method of Sparks motion came from that. So the idea is very simple. To move, you need to your body needs to take decision. For example, to be balanced, you need to find a best way to be organized. The front, the back, up and down, to prevent gravity. So to use the less energy as possible, it's easiest for the body to have a natural preferences.
Hmm.
Nothing is symmetrical in the body. Otherwise, to take a decision, it will be 50-50 all the time, and you lose time and you can die. So, like for example, right hand writing, when you have a problem, you will use the one with the fastest movement between the brain and the body.
Hmm.
This is the same. When you organize your balance, you need to have a natural preferences, more on the right, more on the left, more on the front, more on the back, to use the less energy as possible and to be more adaptable. So time to time, you create some specific road in your brain.
Hmm.
And when you have to decide a complex decision uh, with uh, less fast, I don't know the name, sorry for them, with long, it takes long time to think than to move. So when you move, you have a highway road in your brain. When you have to think, your mind will use the road you have created for years. This is what we
Hmm.
call a natural preferences.
Yeah, they say the expression I've heard is neurons that fire
Exactly.
together, wire together.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So when it's not magical, just observing your body give you your natural pattern of the foundation of the decision. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are thinking about, but I have your foundation of your decision. When you're walking on your hill, you need stability. When you need your front foot, you need adaptability. So, what type of mind do you need? For example, I'm walking from the top, like you. So, to give you an information, I need lot of word. For someone walking on a hill, they need stability. They need one information, one word. This is say it's caricatural, but when you
Yeah.
have all that stuff, when you put the program and the equation, when you see someone walking and you heard it speaking, you can cross information.
Hmm. I mean, just the other day, I was watching my son. So we have 4.5-year-old twins, and we were playing outside, and I was throwing him a ball, which he's now catching. It looks so simple in a way, but being a parent and knowing from birth everything that was required, all the repetition, all the movement, all the connections, to just be able to catch a ball.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it's fascinating, it's magnificent, and it's so complex. And as it's interesting for you to share that, actually, the more complex movements and interactions that we have with the space around us, right? The more concepts and, let's say, possibilities that our mind has in terms of communication, conceptual thinking, analysis, and all of that. And they go hand in hand, but in the sense that movement is the factor that requires then the brain to develop itself to
Exactly.
accommodate for the evolution of what we can do with our body.
Exactly.
It also made me think about the fact that very often when we're cleaning, we're thinking. A good way to think, yeah, I mean, is when you're cleaning your house, sometimes it's a little bit like a meditation. You're moving. There's a lot going on in your head. You're going through things, but not in a very stressful kind of way, focused on the thinking. But that combination of movement, and now you hear a lot of recommendations: go on walking, meetings, you have a call with someone, and walk at the same time. Um, so I had never really, made that strong association between the walking and the thinking part of being, as you said. And I found it really interesting that you were in a position to consider and look at top managers as or managers as athletes, right? And as actually being involved in a kind of sport which requires physical and mental preparation. And maybe you can share a little bit about how in a group, because I imagine you work with individuals, but you also worked in groups with groups, because very often when it comes to senior decision making, it's made, yeah, through a diverse group of individuals. Um, what were their experiences? What were their reactions? And how, um, what did they see as the changes which came through understanding themselves, their patterns, right, their foundation, and that of their colleagues?
Okay. Donc first, I will give you the process. For
Hmm.
example, you have a team of 10 people. You have many tools like ProcessCom. I don't know them in English, but ProcessCom, MBTI. So to
Yep.
have an idea of the typology of your group. So you have a questionnaire, and each people will answer the question.
Hmm.
They have to understand the question, they have to understand the intention, and they have to be able to read themselves as clear as possible and not to be focused on the education of the older stuff. The body is very easy. The body never lie. Never lie, never lies, never lie,
Never lies. Yeah.
never lies. So the idea, the foundation of your strategy. So when I have a group of 10 people, I present the concept. We have many workshop, and then I test the 10 people, and I have a map. For example, we can say color at the map of the group. For example, we can say four colors, the main four colors of Jung: red, blue, yellow, and green. So you are a manager, you have your own strategy. For example, you and me can say yellow or red. So we have to present a plan or strategy to a group. First, we have to understand the strategy, and we are going to prepare a PowerPoint. But we are going to PowerPoint for who? Naturally, we are going to prepare a PowerPoint for ourselves, because to be clear as possible for ourselves, and we will transmit, but with no translation. Imagine you're speaking English, but you don't know in front of you what type of language you have. You can have an
Hmm.
Italian, you can have a German, and you can speak louder with many words. If you speak English in front of Italian people, they will not understand the intention of your strategy or even a word of what you're going to say. This is the same with the concept. If you take the MBTI, we have four family.
Hmm.
So our technology is to make like an MBTI, but with the body. And with that, we can have what sort of typology of information you need to be focused, to treat the information, and you can be able to decide. So when I make the idea of the workshop, it's to explain to managers or to the team how to communicate better in front of someone. For example, I need to create a link with someone to communicate, and you as well. But for some people, it's not useful. For some people, they need to be more operative, or they need to
Hmm.
be focused on the target. So first the target, then it's the relation. For us,
Hmm.
it's first. And it was funny when I read the description of your basket. It's totally your profile, and you need for the others to make the same. But for example, you are in front of someone who is very like Russian cold or Germanic cold people who is not able to create a link. For example, a German or a Japanese cheer. You know,
Yep.
sorry, Doctor X Y. Okay, so you are going to look for a link. This I'm Guillaume. Who you are? What are you? Okay, I'm a doctor. What do you need? So the idea, it's not a cold person, it's someone we need first to what is the target, what is the plan, what is the result of the discussion. For example, in your natural model, I'm
Yep.
sure you will never are at the beginning left brain people, because it will take time. What it will gives me and what is about. So with someone who is looking for something clear, objective with a result, they won't
Hmm.
take 1 hour and a half to give you some information. For my profile, it's
Yep.
first link, then sharing, and we'll see. So, there is in this model, you have already a filter of the type of people you will have at the beginning. For example, in 5 years, we will become the first, I don't know, the first podcast in Germany. So you will have people who can be interested in your process
Ah.
because spending 1 hour with you can offer me a visibility or something, and it
Hmm.
can give me a statue or a position because you are an important people. You are everybody knows you, so it's good to spend time with you. So during this first beginning, maybe you can have the same type of profile with people who are like sharing information, don't care about the target, and have
Hmm.
no strategy.
It's really interesting because it's, I mean, the value of having an idea of the people around you and basically what their patterns are and what their types are is, it can make you as a team much more, no, it's not only a question of effective, right? But people will feel safer, more understood, yeah, if you're addressing them, communicating and exchanging with them and then with you in a way that resonates with your basic patterns, or at least you can try, because of course it's hard to go, I imagine, and be completely a different type than what you are, but you can try to add some elements of that. And I remember I went to do this negotiation and leadership seminar at Harvard, and they made us do a profile, yeah, about our negotiation style. And you say I'm relationship based. Well, that was exactly what this questionnaire ended up telling me, saying, Eric, if you're sent into a negotiation by yourself and you feel that the relationship with the person is not going well, you will start offering them stuff that they haven't even asked for because you're trying to repair that relationship and you're not focused on getting the best deal ever for your company. And they're sort of like, we should match someone like you with the personality type or the type of person who cares nothing about the relationship and just has the goal of getting the best deal for that negotiation. If you put both of you together in a room, you'll probably come out with a much more balanced outcome, which is not only good for your side but the other side, and therefore you'll create more long-term value. But that was exactly, yeah, my experience. Also, we did sort of a practice negotiation, and at some point, it wasn't going very well even in our practice, and I could feel the tension inside of me. Oh, but I want to have good relations with all these people, and so
Because it's your talent. Because it's your
I
talent. So the question is, can you perform with another profile? In my idea, because I'm practicing with athletes,
yeah,
it's impossible to perform in a high level with a different profile that you have. It's impossible. You cannot, for example, Messi.
yeah,
Don't ask Messi to play as Ronaldo or as another or Neymar. So to perform as a human being, for example, we say that if you ask to a fish to climb to a tree, it won't be. I don't know the total sentence,
yeah.
but it's exactly that. And the good example. So to sell something to someone, you have to be like this. It depends of the context. And what is your this, because I'm teaching this method to sailors. What is your typology? And what is the typology of client you are good at?
Hmm.
The best sellers don't sell stuff to everybody. They
Hmm.
have a range of typology of clients. So
Hmm.
you can perform with people who like relation. When you detect that, for that client, you can sell better. If you are in front of someone with don't need relation, don't put too much energy
Hmm.
because you won't be able to perform as well as someone with focus on the detail.
Hmm.
It don't mean that you are not able to do it, but you won't be as good as someone with this profile.
And the amount of energy, I guess, that it'll take from me,
Exactly.
um, yeah, in order to try to fit into a different pattern and model, yeah, will um, cost me a lot and probably have very little benefit. Whereas if you have a team, a sales team, and you have done, your kind of training and you have that understanding, and then I come to a new potential client or customer, and I'm like, oh, I'm not a fit, right? Like I can see that they're not interested because I'm Canadian, I'm small talk, I'm weather, which we did, before we pressed record, for example. And some people, that's the game that they know. They feel very comfortable with that. And other people that, okay, you're wasting my time because I have a job to do. What is it that you want? So with a sales team who understands themselves through these profiles, I can say, well, oh, it's nice to meet, nice to meet you. I'm here from such and such a company. And then see very quickly saying, well, actually, I just wanted to see if maybe my colleague could come to talk to you in the next weeks. I was in the area, so I decided to stop by, right? But to right away try and identify, oh, my colleague, she's very much operational oriented,
Exactly.
and yeah, and I think this person would fit. They would fit very well together, or at least have a better chance to understand one another. And the goal is that if you're the company that's supplying, is to meet the needs and to add value to your customer, and for the customers to have someone that they trust and they feel that they have a good relationship with, no matter what their style is. So I can imagine that it can be very, very powerful
It's a
for yeah.
team. It's like in a castle. In a castle, you
Mhm.
don't have just fighters to protect the castle. You need to have the people who are going to organize the food, to organize the system. This is where human being need to focus in a tribe. And
Mhm.
in a tribe, you have different role. And the main problem in all the company is you have one type. To be good, you have to be the best. You have to be focused. It's not true. It
Mhm.
depends of the context, and many things change until the COVID. Our profile, we are not. It was very difficult to perform into company normally with our natural human being profile, because to perform you have to be focused, like at this you need to be focused, you have to be the best, you have to be without emotion. Yes, but it's not working all the time. No.
it's It's working for some people, and for a lot of people, I mean, to me at least, this idea of leaving your emotions at the door is something that I heard my dad say like 50 years ago. And for me, at least, progress is to say, well, you're a human being, and it's in your totality if you're outside the office or inside the office. Maybe for some people who are very, very operational and very able to, and I live in Germany, as you know, and here often people very easily separate the professional and the
Hmm?
personal, and it's very comfortable for them, and it's not meant in a mean or a cold way. It's just very, very easy for them
It's
to,
cultural.
yeah. And for others, and as diversity increases, which I think is a good thing, because diversity will offer a team, either a leadership team, a sales team, it doesn't matter, right, more opportunity to serve different types of clients and to meet different values, because you have that diversity within your team. But I think, to your point, there's this great TED talk. I think it's called the Super Chicken, where Margaret, I won't remember her family name, but she basically talks about this idea that we have in organizations, which is, if we put all the best people together, the best engineer, the best salesperson, the best software person, that we're going to come out with the best product and the best innovation. And she gives this example that they did with chickens. So they took two flocks of chickens and they counted the number of eggs that they produced. And they let go 5 generations naturally,
Hmm?
natural selection, right? So some produce more, some produce less. And in the other flock, they just kept the best producing hens. And after 5 generations, the one that was left to itself, natural evolution, produced about the same number of eggs. And in the other flock, there are only 2 chickens left, because they had all killed one another. They were so competitive that they had pecked one another, yeah, basically. And so her point is, when you put just the best people, if you have one model of what you think is the best, and you put those individuals together, you end up with large egos, very competitive people, which in the end is not productive as a
Exactly.
team, yeah, to actually deliver something of value to the end customer.
But at the end, it's all about fear. Fear to lose, fear not to win, fear. So when you are fear of something, you are going to control and to be more rigid. Because
Hmm.
in a complex world, the best answer is I don't know. It don't mean that I don't have the answer, but when you say to someone, you ask a question, I don't know, you can feel the fear. Because emptiness, it's about dying. And in the company, when you, for example, there is some, during the year, in some moment of the company, you have a lack of energy, a lack of work. And this part, for me, is the best part to work on the team. And they put some team building, they put more and more active. So it's not useful, even for just example for kids.
Yeah.
Kids, they have to do things all the time. Take the time to do nothing, to
Mhm.
develop just your creativity from emptiness. And all that stuff create this incredible mind that to have the best team, for example, in Paris Saint-Germain in France, you
Yep.
put all the best players, it's not the best team. Will never be the best team. It's impossible because we are not functional, we are human being. And human
Mm.
being is the best answer in a situation is adaptability. And
Mhm.
at the beginning, you speak about diversity. So to like women and men to be equal, okay, but mind diversity. Don't think in the same way as me. That don't think like this. It's for many years it was vertical organization, then organizational organization. So it depends on the group, the context. You can have vertical for 3 months, like something very like top down, but it can change with the context. But we like making stuff like McDonald's, all the same process, because there is a when a company are a certain level of people,
Mhm.
it's so complex, it's so out of our natural tribe organization that we don't know how to do that to let the system growing by itself. Just observing a forest. When you put the same tree in the same organization, it takes so many energy to prevent diseases, to prevent many problem or the fire. If you let the forest like it found its own organization.
Mhm.
And this is a problem with main organizations that we have that all managers or comex or they want to put people like this on queer organization to put some pressure and it will not work. Fine for me, give me a lot of work. So wonderful. So it's perfect. And when you say about the profile, if you put people like this to perform, it's perfect because you will need coach. You will need some therapist because it's impossible in the nature to focus like this. It's
Mm.
impossible. So for me, the main problem is until we need me, we have a problem.
Mm.
If we need coach to help manager to coach, and now we have coach from coach.
Yes.
And the idea of the profile is to give some just natural element of how people are working in the simplest word. How do you walk?
Mm.
Walking, it's a decision. It's taking a decision from immobility to movement. So you need
Mhm.
to take a risk and about adaptability. What is your process? That's all. When you have the process, you can put it in education with kids, in a couple with communication, in a team building, even in communication strategy. When you have a website, what type of communication I want to send? If and for example, we made a wonderful test with oh sorry, when you sell an apartment, the name it's the job it's
Like a real
real estate agent.
estate? Yeah.
So I was for a big, it's called Square Habitat, which a huge, it's a whole organization in France. And we
Mhm.
just observed in the small text you have in the newspaper to sell an apartment, they have a problem with a specific typology of apartment with they need creativity or they need to make some effort or to change the style of the process. They were not able to sell them. It was easy for them to sell new apartment with the square meter, something very organized. And we observed that the people who are writing the small text have all the same profile. So same information, same profile, same target. So if the product is not in the line of the people, they filter the process, they won't find the client. So we change the group to have some people more creative for some specific product. We are not totally so and they increase their soul about 50 or 55%, just about moving word and team. And I have many examples like this.
So understanding that the people who are most likely to want these types of apartments, which are not newly built, for example, they have maybe a certain, we say in French, cachet, or they've got
Exactly.
something. Yeah,
Thank you. Exactly.
yeah, they will. Yeah, they're retro, or they're in a certain neighborhood. If you just tell them the square meters, the XYZ, then the people on the receiving end, that
Exactly.
won't resonate with them, right? So you
Exactly.
But if you add certain words or the way that you describe it will then pique their curiosity because it's different individuals who tend to have a different, let's say, pattern who are interested in those types of
It will
apartments.
attract new type of client.
Hmm. Well, that's really interesting, and it's really powerful. And as you're saying, how context is so important. So I would imagine that the more you understand about your organization and your different teams, right? Then as the context changes, you can experiment and say, okay, well, I think in this context we probably need 80% of this type, right? Because I know it's very chaotic at the moment, so we need people who take decisions very quickly, don't need to think things over too much. And once it's stabilized, then we can add the people who will bring in more creativity or any other, let's say, context. I imagine it gives you at least the flexibility to experiment with these different combinations. But as long as you're willing to look at the context and adapt. And one of the things that I do professionally, but also personally, um, is to try and move away from this grand strategy idea of 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, that there's this linear path, right, that organizations and even individuals are going to follow. And I've had really tough discussions with some people in executive positions because they don't, it makes them really uncomfortable. Just, well, Eric, what do you mean? Like, there's no plan? You can't do that if you don't have a plan. Or what do you mean, like, not having sort of this North Star? And the answer is a direction of travel makes sense, right? So where you think that you're going to go. But you need to look at context. And the first context is where you are today, yeah, and what's enabling, what's constraining you to move in that direction. And the next step is actually you're not going to become, and I've got a really, for what I find is a funny example, you're not going to become that idealized thing from one day to the next. And to make people feel the pressure that they're not that yet is actually counterproductive. So one of the companies that I worked for, we noticed that from the senior leadership perspective, communication was quite difficult. They only communicated when there was a success in the project. That's very easy communication in my view, right? It's like, oh, milestone reached, and we've now implemented XYZ. But all the time in the middle, where there was uncertainty, things weren't going well, they weren't communicating. So people had to make up their own stories about what was going on. And I was trying to get them to see that, but I didn't realize that I was asking them to do 15 steps ahead of where they actually are today. If I could just get them to like a post in the internal Teams channel or SharePoint or whatnot, that would have actually been step one, right? In the direction of travel. Where you end up in the end, you may not be 100% sure. They may not become that extroverted communicator, but it's really context dependent, and then moving to the next adjacent, possible step, and then moving from there. But it seems to make people and organizations very uncomfortable,
Mhm.
as you said, that, well, I don't exactly know where I'm going to be. It's easier to promise something and in the end to say there were factors that I couldn't account for. That's why I didn't make this promised thing. Let me plan again this perfect scenario. Yeah. And if I don't make it, it's because there are a number of conditions that I couldn't foresee. And now let me plan another perfect scenario.
Or you have the COVID and your plan fucked up.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's
And
about,
you,
and everything is unpredictable. You can make a plan, a roadmap. It will never happen when you think it will. It's impossible. It's impossible. This is life. You say in 5 years we're going in this direction, and then you have a new product arrive in the market that you didn't predict. But the main capacity as a manager we need to focus on is talent, communication, adaptability, because we are human beings. That's what we call human resources. Human, it's a resources.
hmm,
But how it works? First, in my reading, it's we are a body with moving. So as a company, we need to take information, to translate the information and create a decision. Decision is a movement. What are the process of decision? Even at school, what is attention? We always say, be focused. Okay, but how? We have different type of
yes.
attention. When you want to, in a manager say, you have to do that. For example, I used to practice Muay Thai, and it is incredible the difference in France and in Thailand. In France, when you have to make a kick, you have to the coach say you have to put the feet like this, to put your hand like this. If it's your natural pattern, it's easy or it can be difficult. In Thailand, say kick hard. And you spend time guy kicking, and one time your body find the balance, and then you have the power, and then it gives you another difficulty. So it starts from you, from your capacity to integrate an information. So as a manager, it's not you have to do that. It's what are you good at? What are you good at? And then you start from what you're good at, and then you start to develop the complexity of your working pattern. But if we focus only about the action, we lose all the strategy of the intention.
Mm.
The intention focus the attention permit the action. So if you just give the focus, you don't know all the pattern you need to decide. So we are not a computer or a machine that you have print.
Yeah.
And even to print, you need to have a program that the computer have to detect the print. And the human being, we never do that. You say print, you have to print, but how? I need to have this specific translator to translate from a Mac to a PC. That between the print and the computer, you need to have a special program. We never do that in management. So, who is the person in front of me? What is this level? And even what is, and this is what I'm very, because there is the motricity and the autonomic neuronal system. It's what is your level of energy?
Mm.
Because my two specialty is motricity and autonomic neuronal system. Do you know
Mhm.
the polyvagal theory about the
A
polyvagal?
little bit.
Okay,
I've not much, but I know a little bit about
this
it.
is incredible. And
Mm.
in the first about it's about Porges, it's a scientist,
Mhm.
and say
Yeah.
that first level of stress, you you stop the human connection first. Sorry,
Yeah, no problem.
just I just forget to close my door. Oh no, it's so. And then second level of stress, fight flight.
Mhm.
Last level of stress, freeze. With a profile, we can detect when you are confident and when you are in security.
Oh.
So in a team, some information can give you confidence and some information can give you security. And it's not the same for each of us.
Mm.
So first, to have a good team, if I give you just a simple program, to have a good team first, do you feel secure in your company, in your team, in your job? First, if you don't feel secure, you will just react first. So with the group, with the people. And then, do you feel confident in the project? And then you can speak about motivation. But if you don't have that,
Mhm.
if you have, for example, a tiger in the room, you won't be able to listen to the discussion of all that. But we never speak about that, about security. And the body give you some tools to detect, are you secure or not? Are you confident or not? And what are the tools you need? Security is about posture,
Mhm.
confidence about movement. So when you have the rules, it gives you so much confidence in the human being and in the communication. It's so easy to understand the need of a team, of a group, of a company after that, because you have 5, 10 just key. It's not about it won't it. It's not like a it won't resolve all the problems, but it's just simple key.
Mhm.
Are you rational? Are you social? Are you operational? Are you functional? And then with that, we're going just to move your team, and it's also it's just incredible. Sorry, it's my passion, so I can speak hours about that.
And I'm glad that we get to spend at least an hour and a half talking about it. I mean, it really sounds like for a manager or a senior executive, yeah, to understand their team, their types, and what the way that information is received and what makes people feel safe and then confident. That would be such a great asset to get the most out of people and their collaboration and their efforts. The question that I have, and maybe it's a bit controversial, but I've seen in many occasions, um, leadership boards or teams, very senior executive boards, that in their mind they're already there, and it's all the people that work for them that need to perform better and be better. But I haven't seen that many yet, and maybe I'm just not in the right circles, boards of directors that say, hey, what about us as a team, right? um, you have a lot of naturally we seem to, as a society at the moment at least, select a certain type of person, as you said, to move up in a career path. um, and you can have many tigers in a room with very senior executives, and yet if they're not functional, as a team, it's very hard, in my experience, to see teams that work for them be functional, because we all tend to take cues, consciously or unconsciously, from the people that we work for, from the dynamics of our senior executive teams and boards. Have you had a chance to work, I'm hoping you're going to say yes, with boards and high level executives that they could then see for themselves, oh wow, like now us, we're much better at understanding one another and creating this confident security and confidence. And of course, this will make it easier to bring this to all levels of our organization.
Mm. It's totally true. I'm lucky because I'm working with company who have that sort of mind. So the COMEX called me just for that type of organization, but it's so rare to have some company that, do you feel happy in your job as a human? Are you happy to go to job with to find with your colleague? It's always very painful to go working. It's very about stress, about tension. Working is not natural. Why? Because all the organization, it's not ergonomic for human for human.
Yeah.
Because we are focused on projects we don't understand. There is the lack of communication. We have so many stress that we are not able to share with people. And the unique system we have, it's pressure, it's more. So all the system is organized about having more, winning, but it's like a marathon. And we always forget that. It's not a race. It's a race, but for a company, it's not to be the best in the 5 years, is to say that for 40 years, 50 years, 100
Mhm.
years.
To adapt to all the changing environments and the things that we cannot predict at the moment, in a way which allows them to continue to do business and to provide value.
And even a big company can disappear like this,
Oh yeah.
like dinosaur. So because they need to understand the context and to understand what is your resources. And I'm sure, because I'm working in companies in 20 years, the COVID will change everything. Everything. In the 5 years, we will see some huge transformation. I saw that, but it start now because it's start to be far from us now, the COVID. So
Hmm.
we do it again, our bad habits. But we know that something can appear. There is something not predictable that can happen. So there is the stress increase a lot because it can happen, but we do it like before, and we know it will never work. So there is a lot of stress, lot of burnout, lot of mistakes, huge strategic mistakes. Then, as an observer, it's very funny, because you can see people like doing like kids. You say that fire is hot. Fire is hot. Okay. Ah, it's hot. Okay. And then you forget, and then you see the end like this. And are you stupid? Okay. Do it. We will see. But this is the same.
Did you hear that? I think it's Nike that said that, in their view, the working from home, the remote work, is preventing innovation within their organization.
Mm.
That really makes me think of what you're saying about understanding the different types of people and what their patterns are. I would assume that, my hypothesis, it has nothing to do with where you're working, if you're at home or if you're in the office, is that in this new context of giving people the choice and the possibility to work away from the office, then you need to understand much better how they need to digest information, what type of people they are, and what type of team composition that you have in order to foster innovation. And it's not really about the location where they are.
Yes, but I discover new problem. There is now a lack of, and I say body sharing. It's not about sharing. It's about thinking, because when you send a mail, you don't have the context, the the color of the face, moving of the eyes, the breathing. So you lose a lot of information. So for company, it's wonderful because when you are at home, you use your electricity, you lose your own system, you don't working in the cafe machine, so you are more productive. But for the managers, how to create a team if you see each people once a week or once a month? To create a team, you need to share with, when I said non-productive moment, like the
Hmm.
barbecue.
Yep.
Because when you share and you don't have any target or objective, you can meet each other as a human being. Then, when you have a link, when there is tension, you can test the resistance of your link. When you don't have link, the first pressure you have, your first tension, separation.
Hmm.
It's normal because you have stress, and when you are stressed, you just take your energy just to survive. And all that new organization will, because we are the last generation, we know that we don't have mobile because we have the same age approximately, but the new generation, they will
Yep.
start working with that,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure they will win something. I'm not
I,
sure.
I I heard someone say actually that that we know that trust is partly an olfactory
Exactly.
decision, right? And that remote work, we've seen an increase in, let's say, microaggressions or the way that people talk to one another being less social. And part of the reason for that is possibly because you can't know instinctively from your body if you trust someone or not because you're missing that sense, right?
Exactly, exactly. And this is the same with the vagal nerves. The vagal nerves will change the color of your face, will contract the muscle of your face, will change your heartbeat. So if you are not in front of someone physically, you don't have that signal, and you won't be able to adapt your communication.
So then we need to find ways. I mean, the freedom for people to work from home and not have to commute and all that is very important for our
Yeah,
well-being. But we still need to then, as you said, find ways actively to be social and to
it's a
spend
balance.
time. Yeah.
It's a balance because for some people, it's very difficult to stay at home alone when you have your family. When you are, imagine you are a 50 years old guy with no
Yeah.
family, with no kids, and your unique social organization is to share with people at work.
Yeah.
It depends. It's not in company where this difficult is you have a process and everybody do like this.
Mm.
You have to be adaptive. It depends. It can change to be more case by case. It
Mm.
depends of the process of. So it's good, but it's not perfect. It's it helps. It gives some solution, but it creates problem. So
So context, right? So what is it that
context.
that particular team, for example, needs to do? Is it innovation? Is it operation? And what kind of profiles in terms of motor,
Exactly.
let's say, brain, patterns do those individuals have? And does it fit to the type of team that they're in, the type of work that they have to do? There's some people who are more introverted. I mean, don't get me
Exactly.
wrong. Introverts still need social contact, right? But maybe not the same level as an extrovert. And they may be more comfortable in certain types of teams, doing certain type of work, which would fit their profiles better. But that requires, as you say, um, a willingness from an organization and the time to say, let's figure this out because it will benefit us not just for this quarter, not just for the next financial year and our shareholder return, but understanding as a system the individuals, right, and their patterns, and playing around with combinations will help us to be way more adaptable no matter what comes in the next 10, 15, or 20 years.
Exactly.
uh, but we seem to, and there's one of my favorite authors who I'm going to be lucky enough to talk to as well, Nora Bateson. She talks a lot about this idea that after automation and industrialization, we actually, at a very deep level of thought, believe that we can cut everything into smaller pieces, and that if we make every piece perfect, the whole will be perfect. And yet we know that very often the whole is more than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
So we have to, I mean, it's a challenge, but the more organizations can get away from, let's just, compartmentalize, cut it, standardize, repeatable, and say context matters, the more that they will develop to be adaptable, yeah, for many different
Mhm.
circumstances in the future. Is there anything as an individual that I can do to understand myself a little bit in terms of my type, just observing my body? Yeah, is there anything?
Okay, so what I observe, and
Yeah.
I just will answer with introvertual, just small seconds. When you say introvertual don't need or less of social net, it's not totally true. It's
Okay.
don't need the same type
Oh,
of social
interesting.
meeting. They need, for example, small group. So and then prefer listening than speaking. Some extrovertual are not sharing. They are just showing them their energy.
Talking. They're
Yeah,
just talking, but they're not sharing.
exactly. So introvertual, extrovertual is one of the problem we have the MBTI. So they put you in a square, in a that you are introverted, so you don't need that. You and me,
Mm.
we are introverted in our energetic system.
Hmm.
We like sharing, but it takes us a lot of energy to recover.
True.
So we need a lot of moment thinking alone. And then when we are going to share, we need high intensity for a short term, but something very fast because we're working with the acetylcholine right brain system. So we need
Hmm.
to have as fast as possible a link. But if a link takes times, our level of attention will go down like this because we are introvert. We need to share as fast as possible in a small spaces with high intensity and very personal sharing. So
Mm.
as a person, to understand yourself and just is forgive you of everything.
Okay.
And then before judging yourself, I'm good or bad, just trying to listen what I'm good at and what I'm attract naturally. And for example, when you go to the restaurant, it's stupid, but you read a cart,
Menu.
a menu,
The menu. Yeah.
and it's what I want. Or when you start, when your mouth start to have some so
Yeah. Salivate. Yeah. To.
and try just to think that it's no, it's too salty, too fat. But what I need, my body want now, just to change your mind about what I want intellectually. I'm a good restaurant, or they may be good at that, or I want my body summer that I want to eat that. But it's about projecting yourself. What is useful now for me? Just listening, and the same with the profile. For example, when you say two people and you say, "Oh, this people is stupid," no, it's a reaction. What does it provoke in yourself?
Hmm.
For example, when you will share with a cheer with who don't want to give information about himself, his emotion, you will feel a reaction and you will have some tension.
Absolutely.
So it gives you your natural organization. Okay, it's not good or bad. It's like this, and you will find the program of your own ego. And listening with the total, fully objective mind, for me, it's a new, unique way to perform. With the profile, it's faster to have your keywords and to find the context and the environment that will have some tension. For you and me, it's the same. If you don't understand things, if you don't have new information, if you don't have any project, if there is too much routine, you will die.
You know me, right? We've known each other for
No,
20 years now.
it's about your shoulder, your eyes, your neck. You need to understand and you need to create a link. So all the job you will have that don't give you that energy,
Yeah.
you won't be able to perform. It's impossible. You need to have adaptability, to have a small group of people that you can share as deep as possible. You can work with friends.
Hmm.
If you have that, you can be the best.
Mm.
If you don't have that, you can be in the middle level. If they give you the good team, the good project, and the good moment, you will be the best. But if you can find that, if you can find the good mission, if you have The chance to be able to choose your project, your team, and to express your talent, you can be the best expression of yourself. And this is the unique way. Don't be the best version of yourself.
I mean, I one of the contracts I did when I did the interview, I shared a few things about myself, and I said one of the worst things that you can do to me is actually to put me in a room by myself with documents that I need to read, and not to be in the thick of things, right, where there's action and uncertainty. They put me in a room the first month reading documents. And I mean, that and for other reasons, I told my wife, okay, I need to look for another contract because I'm just not going to survive in this environment.
Mm.
About a month later, they changed my boss. And this person came in and said, well, hey, everyone, you're the experts in your area. You tell me what you think we should do because that's why you're here. You have expertise. And I spent 2 years within a frame being able to do what I want. Obviously, not everything, right? But I had someone who's like, Eric, you want to try this? You want to hire that person? You think it's going to be beneficial? Go. You want to travel to see the client because you build relationships? Go. He even let me do things in the company which were not directly related to my project, but he said if it's good for you, it's good for us as a team because you're part of the team. But to have someone who not necessarily consciously he didn't, or maybe but to recognize that if I give Eric this kind of environment, he'll spend his free time reading and thinking about how he can do things better. And if I try to sort of put him in a very fixed what he's allowed not allowed to do, right, and force him to work in a certain way, then I'm not going to get the best out of him.
If in the same mission you put, for example, a left brain thinker, he won't feel safe in that type of organization.
No,
So
no direction, there's no
he
clarity.
won't perform. So
Hmm.
the context and cross to the profile is the key. What are you good
And
at? In which context?
I mean, and as you were just saying, like listening to this idea, and I really love this image, and thanks for sharing, that if I take a menu, and at first my brain is like, oh, what do I want? And it's like, oh, okay, lately I feel like I'm putting on a bit of weight, so maybe not this. And then suddenly your eyes scan something and your mouth just goes, ah, that your body is telling you this is what you want, right? This is at the moment in your context, this is what you're connected to. In a professional way, yeah, I think we are scared of that. I'm currently, so I'm 45. I'm currently, I don't want to call it, it's not a midlife crisis, but it's a point in my life after having worked a certain number of years where it's like,
20
oh,
and 20. So the middle, totally the middle.
exactly, right? So what is it that I want to spend my time on? What's important to me? I have kids, so yes, it's natural. You start to think about legacy in the sense of what did I contribute. I find myself attracted to the outdoors, to nature, to forest, to river, to want to do something for the environment, something for social justice. But the environment, by the way, I didn't grow up in an environment where we went camping or hiking and whatnot. So it's a self-discovery as much as it is a wish to do something which has a larger contribution. This is what my body is telling me, and at the same time, and maybe it's just the way that we were trained through our education and our social systems, I'm so afraid of trusting that part of myself that says, Eric, go explore this, because it doesn't conform to maybe what I've done before, to what has given me contracts in the past. So I really let's say, want to encourage those who are listening or watching to, when those moments are there, to realize what the body is saying in terms of the direction that they should take, but also to sit with maybe the fears that come with it. Have you had the chance to accompany people, yeah, through this kind of process? And what would you share?
So the main problem when I'm coaching someone, sometimes they quit their job. But the main problem is don't forget this is just a job.
Hmm,
So it won't solve all your problem. When you have a difficulty of your identity, you won't solve it at job. This is not the job is made to make money, to permit to put your family in security. To it's not a philosophical development. This is
hmm.
just a mirror of your tension, of your limit. It's just for that. So With the body, we just express stuff, discover fear, and then let it go. You will see. Staying in job, or if you want to quit, this is the same. If you stay in the same job for 40 years, you will learn as many stuff. If you quit, you will learn many stuff. This is the same.
Mm.
We are love to say, okay, what is the problem? I want to change this. So your ego, because your ego don't like frustration and fear. But if you just keep your body, okay, I'm fear. I have tension. Okay, I have tension. I'm fear. Okay, I'm fear. But quitting your job won't change your fear. It's inside of you. So you will have another job. You will have fear again and again and again and again. So I don't mean you don't need to quit. It depends. If you have to quit, you will do it. But focus on, okay, what I'm fear of, about identity, about posture, about representativity, blah blah blah. So the mind is not your friend. Mind thinking, it's like your arm. You don't say, okay, I'm not able to use my left hand to work, I would quit my job. This is the same with the mind. But mind and ego are so stuck that when you don't have your sugar, when you don't have fed your ego enough, your identity is not expressed, you say, okay, I don't exist. And so what? Just a job. Just a job.
So, in that sense, the body is giving you signals, but the first interpretation of the mind may not be the right one. It can, as you said, you can realize that, okay, well, this job um, is not the right context for me to be able to express a part of myself, for example. But what I hear you saying is also, and this is true for me, don't idealize that a change of job is going to fix all of your problems. At the same time, I find that, and this is not for everyone, obviously, and maybe it has to do with my type. What you
Exactly.
were saying, yeah,
Specifically, who
yeah,
I
like
am.
for
Who I
for
am.
me, spending 4 years learning something, um, I know enough that it's fulfilled my curiosity. Now, I may not be the best at it, but I've learned enough where I'm like, wow, I understand a good part of it. And then I'm like, okay, what's next? Like, now I have curiosity for something else, right? So my signals may be saying, okay, now explore another curiosity because that's what fits, your patterns, your personality. That's where you can bring the best side of yourself, is in that new discovery and learning and enthusiasm. But for someone else, that may not be the case. So the body will give you signals. What the mind tells you about those signals, you should step back, maybe meditate a little bit, or find some practices. And in the end, yes, you may leave your job, you may not, but that's not necessarily right the answer. That finding a new job is going to fulfill everything that you think it will.
It's like
What,
scrolling. You cannot scroll job when you scroll Instagram.
yeah,
Why are you
abs-
scrolling? Because your attention, you want dopamine, you want pleasure, you want something new, you don't want routine, you want to grab, you want to flight, you want to. It's always about hate and love. It's about black and white. It's about like that. But with the body, it's just okay, who I am. So I'm not my job, I'm not my family, I'm not my body, I'm not, it's not about philosophy. It's just understanding the process that when you make a mistake, you are not a mistake. This is just a mistake. When you don't get your client, it's not about you, it's about a process. But when you are on stress, it's very difficult to make the difference between you and the situation. And with this method, with this approach, it's just a way to have some key to understand the difference between you and your action. Because it's not, for example, you can stay in a group for 10 years and you don't have any result. It's not about you, about the process is not aligned with your natural pattern. And then you change and you become the best. You are the same. It's not you are good or bad, the best and the worst. It's about the context. And when you are the best, you just say, okay, I'm the best of the world in this context. You change, you can be the worst. So with the body, you have key to say, what is my natural organization? What is information we can be easy for me or difficult for me, but it's just information. When you print something, you can print a nice picture or something very dreadful, but it's just a picture.
So you would look at someone like me, and after doing an analysis of my movement, right, and also conversations with me, if I would then present you with the situation that I'm in right now and what I'm thinking as a 45-year-old, there's probably some things that you would say, well, Eric, that doesn't surprise me, right? This is the way that you're thinking about it, and this is what you think is going to happen. And you'd be in a better position to maybe say, well, these things are patterns which maybe don't serve you. Yeah. And these patterns are the ones that I think connect with fundamentally how you express yourself, both physically and mentally, and your experience, as you said, of this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just through my movement.
Exactly. So we can take an appointment for that, but easily it's what makes you fear.
Yeah.
It's stagnation, routine, and emptiness, lack of so fear,
Hmm.
don't understand what's going on. That what don't make confidence, projection, and sharing. And the motivation is idealistic idea. Very, very easy. Huh? How can I change the world? How can I be different? How can I be me? So who I am. So the first triangle, easy.
Where did you see that? I have to ask in my body. Yeah,
Breathe,
because if my wife was here, she'd be like, "Yes, yes, tick, 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 tick. Thank you. That's my
it's
husband."
20 years of observation. It's about rhythm. It's about breathing, organization, eye tracking, shoulder moving, organizing your spine all the time, the inclination of your neck, how you treat information, how you react to my information. So it's many information. But when you move in 5 minutes with, and anybody can understand that with technique, observation take time because it's a real job. But with testing, in 6 days, you have the tools to understand and to find what is the best context for you to perform. For example, if you call me and you are in burnout, we can understand why and how to change. It won't change your life, but just to say, okay, I am in burnout because I'm just trying to, for example, you are a salmon and you are going just to run. I said, but you are a salmon, swim. Ah, okay. Just to understand, it's not about your fault, it's about the process. So first, out just to be out of the box, and then with some mental technique and some coaching, just to find the best way to release, just to release, and just to be normal, and just for you to find what is my rhythm. For you, the most important is relation and rhythm. If you find your own rhythm and you can change your rhythm, you will feel peace.
I mean, it's very powerful that how you said forgiveness, self forgiveness is the first element, right? Of what, when I asked what can people do to understand themselves, and you said, well, it's self forgiveness, right? It's not their fault. Yeah, like don't beat yourself up for not being this type of person or for not being able to connect in that scenario. Um, I mean, that's what you seem to do is very much on three levels, right? I would say three levels. It's the physical, the cognitive, and the spiritual, however we want to call it. Yeah.
You can say philosophic or strategic or well, you can
Yeah,
say
but it's all three of those together, because the self forgiveness, right, we can maybe understand it cognitively, but it doesn't mean that it's easy to do from a spiritual or from a philosophical or really from, yeah, that deep place of inner trust and openness.
you can say objectivity. The same. You can say
Hmm.
forgiveness or just be objective without emotion. The same word for two strategy. You can say
Hmm.
philosophy like be more Buddhism technique or just be objective.
Yeah,
This is just an
and
emotion. Be
so
more rational.
you work with all those,
Yeah.
the three levels, right, with individuals and organizations to help them to swim if they're fish, right, to run if they're, well, chicken's probably the wrong word, but
Exactly.
gazelles or
Exactly.
leopards
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something like that, right? And yeah, I mean, that really resonates, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of the listeners and watchers of this episode. And I like to ask also my guests. So, I mean, we see the state of the world at the moment. There is a lot of tension, obviously. I think we're all a little bit anxious and worried about how things are going to go in the next 5 to 10 years. What do you think what can we do as humans to be better humans, kinder, more inclusive, more just, and more compassionate?
Stop thinking. Stop thinking. Stop projecting. Be careful about the fear, because all that is about fear. Fear is about control. It will happen what will happen. We don't have any control on anything. I think for me, the COVID was the best spiritual approach I played for Occidental, because in India, in Africa, they have many from Ebola, from incredible diseases. So they are used to be at the moment, at present moment present. They are used to that because they have that sort of diseases that we don't have. From Europe until the Black Beast, you said the Black Beast.
The Black Plague. Ouais.
Yeah, yeah. But okay, it can happen. So take the life as you are, be happy. It's not difficult, but let it go.
So somewhere, and this is a larger societal reflection, production, consumption, social media, watching what others are doing, wanting more wealth accumulation. So somewhere we need to let go of the illusion or idea that we can control, that we should plan everything, and really have more enjoyment of what we have, yeah, within our lives.
Very easy to say, difficult to do, but
Very difficult to
before
do.
before changing the world, just changing yourself. Who are you? Who are you? You can ask the others to change if you're not able to change yourself. We speak about diversity. Are you able to accept other way to think? First diversity, it's even you in yourself. Can you accept your own diversity? Yeah, on
Can
the
you
context, you can go bad, you can go a bad person or a good person. It won't change who you are. But we say, but everything is external. Diversity, accepting yourself. I'm hetero, I'm gay. You can be who you are. It won't change who you are. You are not what you are doing. Who are you as a person? We don't care about your sexuality, your religion, about your possession. Who are you? First question. And when you are going to work, I am a manager, I am a director, I am what I'm doing. I am rich, I am poor, I am black, I am white, I am a football player. No, who are you without doing? First system
that you need to my hypothesis, you need to stop the doing to find or to know that, so that
process. The
right, so that the
deepest,
deep
deepest process.
so that in everything that you do, that is the fabric of how you do it, and that you actually don't engage in the things which are not connected to that fabric. But for that you have to stop, right?
There is one Zen exercise was incredible. Just observe your walk.
Mm.
How you're walking from the heel, from the front of the feet, your rhythm, just observing. Your decision. I want to cross the road, I don't want. Okay, well, listen. I'm free, I'm not fear. Listen. Your body will capture so many information that you don't know. Decision, it's 5%, and who is going to decide? You, what is you? You are not deciding anything.
That's someone I'll be speaking to as well is Professor Carl Friston, who's a world-renowned neuroscientist, and he authored a principle called the free energy principle or active inference. And basically, the way I understand it is that he says your brain is always predicting its own experience before it happens, right? And it tries to get as close as possible to the prediction so that the experience is as close as possible. And the thing is that we can actually act on our environment to ensure that the experience matches the prediction. So we can ignore stuff. Yeah, we can change the physical environment. And I'm curious to ask him if what's the word I'm looking for? If we're actually, do we consciously decide anything? Do we have really any agency? I've heard him say in one talk that we don't. So I'm very curious to hear more about that. Um, to your point, listening, like walking and being within the walk itself, within the experience of the feet, the arms, the breath, right? As a starting point for who am I? What is my fabric, right? Forget all the rest, the job, the this, the relationships, right? That present experience of myself, giving space for that, and then trying to radiate that through the roles that we have on a day-to-day basis.
My program is just you are not the mind. First, listen to the body, and next step, you are not the body. But first, to defocus from the mind, I just say first step, you are your body. So this is first step, and then you are not your brain and you are not your body. But next step, it's okay. You are not your mind. You are not your decision. Your body, it's decide more than your mind. When you discover that, then you have a natural duality that appears. And then there is the next step, the more philosophical way. You are not your body. So, but this one, it's a huge gap. So, next video.
Very fascinating. Thank you so much. I also like to ask, so in my conversations and my, let's say, interest through this YouTube channel and podcast is to understand why we think the way we do as human beings. Is there anyone or any people that you think of that I should have a conversation with who can bring me another perspective, yeah, and another reflection on why we think the way we
I
do?
can introduce you to the creator of Action Type with Ralph Hippolyte, who's a wonderful speaker. So it's a genius. So with
Oh wow!
all we have with a genius. So it's like,
Oh,
but
I
a
love that.
wonderful English speaking, and he created this method. So I will give you the telephone number, and he will enjoy sharing that with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And
And
by
you
the
will be
way,
at the source, at the first element of all this technique. So I am the Padawan. You will have Metro Yoda.
well, Padawan with 20 years of experience and excellent observation skills who can say so much about a person just through, a Zoom conversation or a YouTube, let's say, discussion is amazing. Thank you so much for that. I'd really appreciate it. By the way, your English, you have nothing to worry about. It was fluent
I
and
did my
fluid.
best.
Yeah, yeah, everyone's going to understand you. I thank you very much. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you or learn more?
Good luck, because I hate social media. In September maybe I will have a social media like Instagram. You can connect me on Instagram at Guillaume Rivas or on my company which is called Human Sparks. So I'm not very good at digital network and that. If you want to ask me, call me and just come in France. Ask me to come in your country. I will take the plane. I will come. I am my own
I will.
Instagram. Just ask me. Just find a restaurant. Take time. I will come. I can cross Europe for even a meeting. Sorry for the ecologist, but I just prefer. If you want to meet me, we can make an appointment, and we will share something happened or not. We spend a nice moment, and this is my way to organize my job.
Well, I will link in the description of this episode on YouTube to your company website and also to your Instagram so that people can go there and reach out to you if they'd like to have a nice meal and connect to you. I do encourage as many leaders and people as possible to reach out. I think it's really amazing what you and your company do. And I thank you for your time today, Guillaume Rivas. It was really a pleasure to have this chat with you.
Thank you very much.